oftentimes I'll say there's a wide range of lack of knowledge of probiotics in practitioners, and from practitioners who say they don't work to they're all they may have a brand they like or something, but they don't. I think a lot of them don't have deep understanding of how probiotics actually work as kind of teams. And the vast majority of probiotics on the market, especially I'll say white label brands from physicians, are coming.
Are you saying privately? So are you saying private label?
Like private label will often come from a big manufacturer who private labels products for a lot of different physicians or whatever. I mean, we actually went through this with a physician practitioner who wanted to private label Sugar Shift, but they didn't want to buy, a minimum order quantity that made sense for us to do it for them. And they can go to, a large manufacturer who does white labeling for physicians and get a very cheap probiotic that they only have to buy, a minimum order volume of 10 or 20 bottles a month. And in those operations, what is typical is that those strains are coming from the 3 large manufacturers. So that's DuPont Danesco, that is Proby, and Chris Hansen. Now, we do get some of our strains from Chris Hansen, but we also have some of our strains that are unique to us. And we are building working teams. I say it's, to some degree, our probiotics are like a functioning fermented food, where it is a team of microbes that we know work well together to produce or restore a function that we have targeted for them. And that, there are some companies that are doing that, but nobody's really doing it the way we're doing it. So,
and then in terms of quality, is there something that, that yours are a higher quality because they're more effective? Because I know the people that I've given Sugar Shift to, and if they've done it, it's worked like a dream for them.
Well, so quality there's a number of different measures in terms of quality. So the CFU count is one thing that people look at. And, what I will say is when we produce our products, our CFU count is typically pretty significantly higher than what it says on the bottle. So, and in fact, we are getting ready to increase the CFU count by a little bit on the Sugar Shift bottle, just because our production runs typically are so much higher than what the label says. So right now it says 18 billion CFUs. Hang on just 1 minute. Oh, no, that was just a preheat. Sorry. We're going to 22 billion CFUs, but our finished product can run anywhere from 50% or more higher than that. So, CFU count is some of that, but really effectiveness comes down to the working team of microbes.
Okay.
And we actually did do early on in the company, before we brought products to market, we did analytics using our BioFlux computational model. And we did some testing for mega food. And in that process, we did the mega food probiotics, some of the Garden of Life products. We looked at a Flora Store product, and we were able to show, and we actually looked at a product that was in a study on using probiotics after antibiotics. And we showed how these particular groups of organisms put together were actually not that beneficial for the specific thing they were targeted for.
Okay.
I mean, that's not to say other product. I mean, because there are great products on the market. You know, I'll say Megaspore is a great product. There's lots of great research behind that. Kiran Krishan, who was the founder of that, is really an early pioneer in looking at soil-based organisms and their impact on the gut microbiome. And you can listen to him I mean, he's been interviewed in literally hundreds of podcasts. So
I'm sorry, what is his name? Kiran
Krishan.
Karen.
Krishan, I think is how you spell it. And then, of course, anybody here who's been privy to the discussion with Dr. Davis and all of, all of the things about L. reuteri, not a lot of probiotics contain L. reuteri, I'll say. And, that is an organism that is in several of our products. And we think that it is a big player in human health and underappreciated. And the same thing with, we have a strain of Leuconostoc mesenteroides. You don't see Leuconostoc in many commercial probiotics. It's used in the manufacture of cheese, but it is basically one of the workhorses of fermented foods across the globe. And, so we're kind of making fermented foods in a bottle, in a capsule, to some extent. And then, of course, I have talked previously about our Lactobacillus plantarum that breaks down glyphosate. And that's pretty unique because we have looked at other strains and they don't have the same genetic capability. But that's not to say we're the only probiotic in the world. I mean, I recommend different things to people, other products to people when there's something specific that we don't have something that addresses. But so many people have metabolic disease today and issues around glucose metabolism that I think Sugar Shift is just really one of the best core probiotics.
Right.
To address
and I have success stories, of my own that I know personally that they've worked with. So it's really easy for me to reference, but I think it addresses that when people say either they're starving or they can't control themselves, that's, I think, where Sugar Shift comes in. So.
Yeah, it really does change the appetite and the cravings. And I think part of that is the reduction in the gram-negative bacteria. So that's reduction in endotoxin. And I think those are some of the bacteria that really drive you to want to eat more sugar.
Yeah, the case, I'll just tell you real quickly. I had a cleaning lady and she was young. She was like in her 20s. And she was having all these dental issues with cavities that turned into crowns that went to root canals. And I asked her what she was eating. And she's like, I crave sugar. I eat it all day long. And she was having Starbucks constantly that had, like caramel macchiatos, like sugar all day long. And I said, well, just stop. And she's like, I can't. So anyway, I gave her the Sugar Shift, sent it to her. And exactly at the 2-week mark, she texted me and said, the sugar cravings were all gone. And I checked back in with her and she's not on Sugar Shift anymore because it's been, I don't know, 6 months or so. But she says she doesn't crave sugar at all and she doesn't eat it. She's completely stopped eating sugar. So anyway, pretty much.
Well, that's a good news story.
Yeah. She actually did the oral, the Bristol Health oral DNA test, and she had like serious gum disease and issues. So she really needed to get off sugar. So it was great.
So that's good.
Yeah.
It looks like Mary Medicus has her hand up. Hi, Mary.
Yes. Hi there. I just had a quick question. So when you said one of the strains helps break down glyphosate. I never to pronounce it right. Roundup.
Glyphosate, yeah.
Thank you. Which of your lines has that in it?
I think all of our products contain that. It's our Lactobacillus plantarum TBC 36, and I believe that is in every formula.
I will look.
I'm pretty sure it is in every formula.
And then I just have two questions. When you brought up, Debbie, people talking about other probiotics, you see so many influencers that are just getting huge affiliate fees from Seed or Pendulum, especially with the Akkermansia. And Seed makes it seem like if you don't have this great indestructible two-part system, no one will ever get where they need to go. So my question is, what are your thoughts on that delivery system? And did Seed just get all these great affiliate sponsors, and that's how they do it? And Pendulum does seem to have that Akkermansia. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
So Seed raised about $60 million, and you know, they have paid for some pretty aggressive advertising around that. I'm not saying they don't have a good product, but one of their early trials was not particularly successful. They actually have just completed a trial on using the product after antibiotics, and that did have some success on their endpoints. They do have the technology that basically keeps it from working until it gets in the colon. But of course, anyone who's familiar with Dr. Davis's work and the SIBO issue, you need to address your problems in the small intestine. So, you know, for me in particular with the sugar shift, you know, it starts working when you swallow it. And so it's working throughout the GI tract. And I think part of that is dealing with what's going on in the small bowel. And in the small bowel is where fructose uptake happens. So if you're going to try to address things like the sugar cravings and that sort of stuff, having a capsule that doesn't dissolve until it gets to the colon is not going to do a whole lot for what's going on in your upper GI tract, which is where some of these problems are. So, you know, for me, I think they're two different mechanisms. They're two different approaches. And, you know, they have one formula that they're kind of selling on a broad spectrum. And, you know, it's just, I'll say it's just different. In terms of Akkermansia, it's you know, it's an interesting organism. It is elevated in people with Parkinson's and MS, so it can be a sign of inflammation. And I typically advise people with Parkinson's when they ask me about it not to take it. It's also a strict anaerobe. It's very difficult to grow it and get, like, you know, like one molecule of oxygen and it's dead. So and if you don't have the right kind of mucins to feed that bacteria, so the right kind of fiber, or it will eat your gut lining.
Akkermansia will?
Yeah, it's a mucinolytic organism. So you either have to have, you know, be secreting sufficient food for it, or it will.
That's scary.
So it is a very interesting immunomodulatory microbe. The pioneer on the research in Akkermansia is a researcher. I think he's in Europe now. He was in the United States for a while. His name is Patrice Cani, Cani, and he actually has a company in Europe where they use the basically the dead bacteria, the cell walls, because they have found, and this is the case in all probiotic organisms and even pathogenic organisms, even the dead bacteria have action. So, you have live bacteria and they're producing enzymes and doing things, but as they die off, their cell walls are also signaling molecules. And so the Akkermansia company in Europe is actually focused on the dead bacteria and the action of the dead bacteria, which I think, proposes less risk than maybe colonizing your gut. And I actually just listened. I'm trying to think what podcast it was. Oh, maybe it was Bill Davis. Bill Davis had Kiran on his podcast recently, and they discussed Akkermansia specifically. And, Kiran was also kind of that kind of stay away from, and you can increase your own Akkermansia by the fibers that you eat, or even some of the spore forming bacteria. Bacillus subtilis, he talked about that, and Bacillus subtilis is also one of the primary organisms in all of our formulas.
Is Bill Davis, does he have his own podcast?
He does. It's called Defiant Health.
Thank you. Thank you. I was just curious because I see, the world seems like the influencers get people to buy things, whether it's the best thing or the right thing, and kind of crazy world we live in.
I mean, that's unfortunately or unfortunately, I'll say, the world of advertising has shifted a bit. I mean, before, it was TV ads and magazine ads and all of that sort of stuff. And that, then you sort of shifted and, it was like Facebook ads. And now that's changed a lot because of the way Facebook has changed things. And during COVID, a lot of the attention and advertising dollars really started moving to these influencers, and these big influencers make a lot of money. And I do think there are influencers who really do try to vet the products that they're, hang on one second. I'm multitasking.
Jenn, are the notes available after the call? Do we have access to them?
The recording is available.
But like your links and stuff like that? How would we get
the chat saved? I believe the chat is saved, but let's verify that with, is Bridget here?
Yeah, I am not 100% sure of the chat. I know we saved the transcript, but I'll double check on the chat. If not, I can copy and paste it here and post that with the recording.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know about the chat. And now I lost track of what I was saying, but maybe somebody could tell me. But that, the influencers are, so like I'm part of the Keto Camp Academy, and I know Ben Azadi really well. And Ben really does look to vet the products and only recommend those things that he's either taken himself or he's really looked into. But at the same time, these influencers can't be experts on everything. And so, sometimes maybe they're recommending something that's not the perfect thing for everybody. And so it does require some personal discernment. Just because some influencer we like is, showing us the pretty package, this is a different product, but it's not necessarily the best thing for us. And, I'm honest with customers. If they call and ask me and tell me what their issues are, I mean, I'll tell somebody if I don't think, somebody who has major, like FODMAP issues, they're not going to want to start with, say, a sugar shift product because it has inulin, and they need to do some other work first. And so I'll be honest about that, because I don't want people to take a product and not feel better. or I want people to understand if they are going to take this product, that there's going to be a, 2 to 4 week period where they're going to have die off and they're not going to feel great. And, that shifting process is not going to be overnight. I'm going to feel like magic. So you don't typically get that from an influencer who's, on a quick snippet Instagram video clip. You get more of it on a lengthier podcast discussion. But when it comes to probiotics, I still don't think many of the podcast, unless you're talking to Kiran or Bill Davis or me or maybe Raul, you're not really getting an in-depth understanding of probiotics and how they work or don't work. I don't know. Do you agree with that, Jen?
100%. And I was even, not to, badmouth other companies, but I recall listening to the, what is she, the, head of marketing or whatever at Pendulum. And it was a recent podcast. You know which one I mean? And
yep.
I was really surprised because Bill and I, several years ago, met with the president of the company, and it was less than, impressive. The bacterial counts were vague, and there were some other funny things about it. But their marketing is intense. And then this latest podcast with, gosh, what is her name? She's a lovely Asian woman who, she's very well spoken, but
Pauline,
that sounds right.
Pauline,
that's who it is.
Pauline
That's
Cutliff.
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's
Yep.
the founder. Yeah.
She's the founder. And then who is Orville? It was Orville. We call him Orville Redenbacher because he looked just like.
Oh, I don't know Orville.
That's who we initially met with. But yeah, I listened to Colleen's talk and in depth, and really it's kind of what Liberty brought up. I mean, the fact is, yes, we need to feed Akkermansia. We don't want it to overgrow. That's really destructive. And I don't know that, most of us need it, but their marketing is incredible. And yeah. So
I just wanted to say, after being on antibiotics for 20 plus years, I figured for sure that I didn't have any Akkermansia. And I bought one bottle of Pendulum, and I didn't even take it all at the same time. I mean, I eventually finished it, and I had, the stool testing done with Dr. Magarino's, and I had like 11 times what you're supposed to have. And I got really sick. I had like painful joints. I couldn't walk. It was awful. And I didn't know what it was. And I was taking, part of wheat belly where we do the hyaluronic acid and the astaxanthin. And I stopped taking the astaxanthin because like I said, I know that feeds it, but I don't do like the olive oil, which I know is another thing that feeds it. I'm feeling much better now, but I don't, maybe at some point I'll have another test done. I don't know, but yeah, it wasn't good because it was painful to walk and difficult.
So there's a paper I posted it to a friend of mine on LinkedIn 6 or 7 months ago, and I haven't been able to find it again. I need to go back and find it. That was raising some concerns about Akkermansia. So, I mean, I'm just, I don't think there's been enough research around it to, want to just load yourself up with it.
Like I said,
again, like we build a working system where they're all kind of working together as a team and keeping each other in check. And, when you're adding in a single strain like this without sort of its counterbalances, I just, I have questions about that.
And like I said, I didn't even take it like consistently. Like it took me probably a year and a half to finish the whole bottle. I only took it occasionally, and never did I think that would happen. And like I said, since I'm depleted of so many different microbes from the antibiotics, I just never thought that I would have any akkermansia.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like between that and the proteobacteria, that were so high.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I love that, you took a probiotic approach to your health. And I think we are, geared towards that, but more,
Yeah.
we know that more is not always better. And,
Yep.
and we don't know what we're doing yet. As Martha said, I mean, there's just not enough data.
Well, I won't do that again. And I would tell anybody else that is thinking about it. I mean, because I've tried a bunch of different things, and
Yeah.
you don't really know which things are working. I mean,
Right.
I've been doing the sugar shift for almost 2 years, I think,
Mhm.
other than the month that I had to take off because I wasn't sleeping.
But
But-
Martha, I think one of the things that's interesting about the marketing of Pendulum, in the context of metabolism and weight loss, are the papers that show that it provokes the GLP-1 response that the weight loss drugs do, and that those are produced in the gut. Can you talk about how sugar shift, I mean, is the appetite suppression related to GLP-1?
Well, it probably is, but it's not something that we have looked at from a study perspective. So I wouldn't be able to advertise that at this point. I have talked to Raul about that, and what we would need to do to be able to say that. I actually think that is kind of dangerously skirting advertising stuff. So I think the bigger issue is these, the danger of those drugs, like Ozempic, like all of that. So if you're kind of marketing yourself as being like one of those, and they are really quite dangerous, from paralyzing the stomach to, I mean, I listened to, I'm trying to think what I listened to, a podcast it was the Dark Horse podcast, and they were, they did a segment on, there was a conference on obesity and diabetes and something else in over in Europe. It was like 500 abstracts, all this stuff, and there was a population level study of 17,000 people who had taken these Wegovy and Ozempic, and they were basically taking the headline in the London Times and saying how everybody should be on them for their cardiovascular health.
Mhm.
And so they went in, and there were 3 papers at the conference. They all came from the same data set, but each of the 3 papers had a slightly different description of the methods. Well, all the methods should have been the same. And then, as it turned out, almost all of the subjects, this was like a little sidebar comment in the article in the London Times. Almost all of the subjects were taking a statins.
Mhm.
So, really confounded stuff. And so then the question is, well, is the GLP-1 counteracting all the dangers of the statin? And that's why maybe it's slightly. So anyway, when you really start digging into these publications, and those were not actually peer-reviewed publications yet. It was like pre-published. So they go to a conference with a big headline, and then the media promotes the headline, and then you get all these people running out to get the drug. But there are a lot of people who have been harmed by these drugs. And my brother took Ozempic off and on for, I'll say like maybe 6 months or something. And his digestive system has never been the same.
Mm. Mm.
He's not as severe as some of these people, but, he used to go to the bathroom like clockwork, and, now he's like, it's just not working like it was.
And it's just, I think a shame that people like Mark Hyman are really promoting it more at that microdosing dose. I don't know if you've followed that, but I think it's a way to keep it circulating. Everyone knows that it's dangerous, so here's a way to use it to make it a little more acceptable, a little more affordable, and keep reducing appetite. And I'm just waving the flag of there are so many other ways to control appetite. And that's why I was asking about
right. So I think like maybe the pendulum will, funny to use that term, but will swing back the other way when you start having all these people with, side effects and problems. My hope is that something like Sugar Shift can actually help somebody restore the vitality of their system after it's been kind of torn up by something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't really know that. I really need to dig a little deeper into the mechanisms, but when you start tweaking like single hormones, the body and the whole system and the digestive tract and our hormones, they're all in this dance with each other. And like, I think the big part of the orchestra of that dance is our microbes. And, I like to like put a dance team in as opposed to like, throwing something into the mix or throwing in a drug that's going to kind of mess up the whole orchestra of music.
Yeah. I love that analogy.
I need to help John for a second. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. We're having a kind of a crazy week. So anyway, the advertising of that is just like the advertising of, Ozempic and Wegovy and all of that. So, and that's not how I'm going to sell stuff. Mahalene, you have
Well, I have a question, comment. So, first of all, I listened to the podcast. What was it? Difficult conversation?
critical conversation.
Critical conversation. Yeah. And you were explaining your process, how you came to study the microbiome and how you had like this big board and were mapping the microbiome and what you were learning to the Parkinson signature. And I was listening to you and I was like, this woman is amazing.
Thank you.
But besides that, which, thank you for you, I heard something that I have started. I'm now in my 50 of it. And what I heard was that you made yogurt for your husband with 10 pills, 10 caps of Sugar Shift. And I thought, well, 7 years ago, I was diagnosed with spasmodic dysphonia.
which is supposed to be a voice disease that is neurological and incurable. And thanks to doing the yogurt and to meditating a lot, both of those things have taken me beyond not being able to talk. I mean, this was a problem. I would make a phone call and the person on the other end wouldn't understand me at all and would hang up. For someone who is a motivational speaker, that could be a little bit an issue.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you, Spirit, for the help I received in healing. But when I heard your podcast, I thought my blood sugar now for a few years has been doing weird things, and I can't track it to any physical cause. First of all, I'm doing everything right. I meditate a lot. I exercise a lot. I don't eat more 15 grams of carbs per meal. I even started having one meal a day, but thanks, Jenn, I finally heard you. It was punishing. So I stopped. I'm still having 2 meals a day. But since I started with the 10 pills and I stopped Sugar Shift because I wanted to measure the fermentation in my gut. So for about 6 weeks, I didn't have any Rite, which included no Sugar Shift. And so I just started again. And I noticed a blood sugar drop of about 5 points already, just in a few days. So I just wanted to give to Caesar what belongs to Martha. Thank you. So I wanted to put that plug in. And also, there's a couple of points of confusion that I would love to clear. So, Sugar Shift or SIBO yogurt or whatever formula, antidote formula, are not to be mixed up to other probiotics, because then we never know if the probiotic work seamlessly as a team or if they block each other. So, okay, I get that part. But what about eating fermented vegetables that have their own probiotic and then eating the Sugar Shift yogurt in the same meal? Doesn't that compete?
Well, that's a really good question. I think because most of our formulas are really their core basis is out of the working systems of fermented food. So 3 of the key organisms in all of our formulas are Bacillus subtilis, Lactobacillus plantarum, and Leuconostoc mesenteroides. And then we have Pediococcus that's in, some of the other ones, and all that's in Sugar Shift. And that is also a fermented meat probiotic. I think that the fermented foods are complementary because they are kind of similar working teams to what our working teams are. And what I often tell people in foreign countries who can't get our product, I tell them eat more fermented foods, because a lot of those similar strains and diversity you're going to get in fermented foods.
Got it. Okay. What was my other question? Oh, yes. The antibiotic antidote, I haven't checked today, but for the past few days, you were out on your website.
Yes.
So I know that Amazon sells it, but Is it as good to buy the probiotic from Amazon as it, I mean, shall I wait for you to carry it again?
No, it's the same product on Amazon.
Yes.
I mean, we send them from our warehouse. So you can certainly get it on Amazon. It's going to be, I think we're looking at anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks to have it back in stock on our site. And Amazon is probably going to run out of it as well.
Yeah.
But now this is a kind of a strange anecdotal comment that I had from a customer who posted a review on Amazon. So she bought Sugar Shift from us, and then she bought Sugar Shift on Amazon, and she was making yogurt with the Sugar Shift capsules, and she the capsules that she got from Amazon, none of her yogurts turned out right. Now,
Wow.
what I will say is I have had the experience of at different times of the year, depending on what the weather is. I mean, yogurt is
I know.
an art, it's not a science. So I can't really, that's certainly non-scientific. But then she went back and bought product off of our website again and didn't have any trouble making her yogurt. So, I was trying to think about like what could be affecting that. And, okay, this is my Martha's kind of crazy out there idea, but the intention of the people who actually touch your product and send, we send our energies to each other. And, maybe it's just the frustration of people in an Amazon warehouse as opposed to, our staff who are, happy and excited about what they're doing. And there's a difference in that, that maybe sounds a little crazy, but maybe it's not that crazy.
It doesn't sound crazy to me. It sounds real. And I think it's why I asked the question. So a last possible question, if I may. I experimented with coconut, thinking that maybe it would help my skin heal faster. And I stopped because I had to throw out one batch out of 2, and it was just a pain in the neck. Like whether I did 36 hours, 48 hours, it was still not fermenting right. Whereas 2 years of fermenting half and half have been very successful each time. But one thing I noticed was the yogurt, because I was fermenting 2 batches at the same time in 2 different machines. One machine doesn't go lower than 104 degrees. So that's what I was fermenting the Sugar Shift at, 104, when the advice is 99. So what I noticed is that the coconut that was fermented as 104 tasted sour. The coconut that was fermented at 99 tasted sweet. So I thought, maybe this machine at 104 is what I need to use because it tastes fermented versus the other yogurt didn't. So why would it be different with half and half? I don't know. But I'm sort of like thinking 104 may actually be a wiser choice for me. Yeah.
So each of the microorganisms kind of prefer different temperatures. And I think Dr. Davis has said that Rooteride, the research has shown it doesn't survive well above 106.
Right.
What I found in doing my half and half is if I use the higher temperatures, mine goes to a very high amount of whey. before it ever gets to the 36 hours. So that's part of why I went to the lower temperature, because the lower temperature, I was getting a good solid consistency, a mild flavored yogurt. And so that works well for me. And I thought, okay, well, your body temperature is also around, 98, 99 degrees, 97. So they're going to be acclimated to your temperature better. As you change temperature and you change sugar content, or whether that's more inulin, or if you're using potato starch, or even, I've used gelatin in coconut yogurt before. Each of those substrates feeds the bacteria in a slightly different way. So like I've played around with my yogurts with different fibers, and sort of the tried and true for me is somewhere in that, I'll say, I'm going to say 98 to 104. So, I have done it at 104, and, I put my 2 little scoops of inulin in there, and that seems to be kind of a sweet spot for me. I have done the coconut, and I think I did the coconut at, I might have done the coconut at 100, but I did that recipe that we have on there that was recommended by one of our customers. And I used gelatin, so it's not vegan, for anybody who's doing vegan. And when I did the coconut, I think I should have dissolved the gelatin separately in a hot water or something before putting it into the coconut milk, because I ended up kind of intermixed in my yogurt with these little chunks of gelatin. But my coconut yogurt tasted great. So I was very happy with that. But I made it with honey and gelatin, I think. And I can't remember what the starch was, but it's in my recipe on the website.
The taste was delicious, but the batches I had to throw out was because there was mold on top of it. And every other batch, I had like this big thing of mold, and I looked it up on Dr. Davis' Facebook group, and the warning was like, throw it out immediately. Don't even risk it.
Well, I'm wondering if maybe you need to sterilize something. So either
I did. I mean, I really followed all the to-dos to the letter. That much I know I have. And so it's okay. I'm not attached to the coconut. In fact, I was it's so much easier to do the half and half.
Yes.
It's like
the half and
boom,
half
boom,
is so
done,
easy, because you just like boom, boom, and it's on
done.
the counter, and it's doing its thing, and you don't. So the coconut definitely takes more work, and is not as high a success rate, I'll say.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's what I thought. But this temperature thing intrigued me, that one would come out tasting like yogurt, the other would still be sweet. So I thank you. That's my sharing for today. Thank you for the answers.
Thank you, Mahalene.
Of course.
Now, we do, just let me jump in here and say, we've got the coconut milk yogurt queen with us tonight, Debbie. And I don't know if you want to talk about that in response to Maha's story, or if you have any general tips for those of us who struggle with the coconut milk, because I know I do too.
Yeah, I've never had. I've been making coconut milk for a long time, and so I've had one batch. Actually, I had 2 batches that went bad, and it was during when I had.
Debbie, you're muted.
Okay, now I hope it's unmuted. There we go. I've always made coconut milk, and I had 2 batches that didn't work. It was runny, and it was when I tried to go back and make just Elroyderi. And so I didn't know if it was the BioGaia that I ordered from Amazon or not. But I make the coconut milk yogurt all the time, sugar shift. I have never had a sugar shift failure ever, ever, ever. And so, and I just get into, you know, I use the potato starch and the sugar. I put it in a container, I shake it up. I get the coconut milk to 180, hold it, you know, for 1 minute, take it off the heat, wait a minute, stir in the sugar and the potato starch. And then I add the guar gum either then, or I wait a little while, you know, if it's closer to 100 degrees. And then when it hits 100 degrees, that's when I add, you know, the sugar shift. And then I just put it, I use that Lavelli, you know, or Laval yogurt maker. And it's, I mean, my husband even commented how good the sugar shift coconut yogurt was the other day. So I've never had a failure of the coconut milk yogurt with sugar shift ever.
Wow.
Okay, I'm gonna have to try your recipe and maybe put your recipe on the website. So maybe if you could send that to me, Debbie, it'd be great, and I will
And
put that up as an alternative, because I think also that's a vegan option, and mine with the gelatin is not. And frankly, the gelatin was kind of a pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I do use, I typically use 2 to 3 sugar shift. I know some people only use 1, and I usually use 3 capsules, because honestly, we got so many on deal. You know, when we started this program, I kind of feel like I can use 3 and I'll be fine. But it always tastes good. It has great consistency, and I've never had a failure.
Now, my question just relates to the potato starch. If I assume it's not being converted to a starch, but I don't know what that temperature is. But you're adding it when the coconut milk's still hot, or has it cooled down?
No, it's still hot, because it's like a minute after I take it off the stove. So it hits 180, I hold it for 1 minute, and then I take it off the stove and I let it cool maybe a minute. But I've also forgotten, and then we had to add it later when it was closer, you know, to 100 degrees, and it always worked. But I use that, what is it, 11-inch wire whip, and I'm telling you, I beat the hell out of it. Like when I incorporate it, it is an arm workout, and I think that is so much easier to throw in the dishwasher than the immersion blender thing. And so, and then
Well, I think the immersion blender also is a potential for introducing.
Yeah.
I don't think they clean well.
yeah.
And I had some failures when I was actually using my immersion blender.
Mhm.
And I kind of decided, okay, I think there's contamination, and I just can't get that cleaned well. So I also use a hand wire whisk that I put in the dishwasher.
And then I do like a tablespoon of guar gum, and I just sprinkle it on top. I don't use the whole tablespoon at first. I just like eyeball it, and then I whip that in. And depending on which brand I'm using, so the one I've had the most success with is the Thai that's at Costco. That is the best price so far right now. Even though that price varies from Costco, from Missouri to Utah to what, you know, wherever. But
Yeah.
I make a lot of that because now my husband's eating a half a cup every night. And so I'm into the lowest cost possible.
Great.
And you said
Got
that Costco sells coconut cream?
Coconut milk.
Yeah, they have cases of the Thai organic Thai coconut milk. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. And when it goes on deal, I buy, I don't know, 10, 12 of those 6-packs. It's in a 6-pack.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you, Debbie.
Okay. Now we can go to Paula. I saw you eating your yogurt.
Yeah, hi. Well, I was showing you how beautiful my yogurts are. The first one was Sugar Shift. The second one was Del Pro.
Yep.
Del Pro makes maybe the best tasting one. I don't know why. I was just comparing. There are different strains mentioned here and here, and I'm not sure what makes it different,
Well, so
honestly.
her Del Pro has a Del Brookii, I think, in it, and Del Brookii is a more traditional yogurt strain.
Okay.
So,
Okay, could be from
yeah.
there. But I just wanted to show you how beautiful the yogurt is, and also why people will like to make yogurt with coconut, whatever.
Well, so some people are dairy intolerant, so they have dairy allergies or just dairy intolerant. So there's a group out, there's actually a physician out in Seattle, I think, who has a specific carbohydrate diet for pediatric patients with gut issues, and one of their main protocols is a coconut yogurt, and one of his nurses actually contacted me because she's making the yogurt out of sugar shift.
Yeah. Well, I bet this is a stomach issue. I don't know what a reason other than something is wrong with your gut that you cannot consume milk products.
Well, Paula,
Honestly.
I can tolerate dairy, but I can't eat it every single day. It gives me sinus drainage. And I absolutely love, love, love coconut. I would eat coconut 3 times a day if I could. So that's not
Well, coconut is good when it's in macaroon. But otherwise, anyhow, if you feel this way, I would suggest eat Bulgarian yogurt first. Start with Bulgarian yogurt if you can tolerate the taste, which is quite sour. And then, I don't know. I don't think it's normal to have a issue like this, but whatever. So I just wanted to mention that, first of all, this Del Pro gives fantastic yogurt, and I love it. And second of all, about the fermentation, again, let me tell you guys how it works. So it's not good overdoing the things. Like I explained to Dr. Davis, when you ferment, the curve is actually going up. It depends how you start. So if you start with, what is this? How many billions? Whatever, let's say 10 billions. And you're going to reach the point of fermentation at a certain constant. And then after this, you're going to have only died bacteria from this point. And there's nothing wrong with eating dead bacteria, but this is not the goal, basically. If you double the dose, like somebody mentioned, and I usually do, if somebody suggests take 1 tablet for a starter, I do 2, 3. Then you shorten the time a lot. And there is no yogurt, real yogurt, that ferments more than 24 hours. So every bacteria will have this constant for die off at different time. But I don't know this. And nobody can tell me what exactly it is. I know the Bulgarian basilicos, all the basilicos are doing pretty well for 24 hours fermentation. And after this, people are complaining, oh, I have a lot of water, or the color is pink, or whatever. So this is the dead bacteria basically after this. You don't have to clean up so much your stuff. Bacteria is bacteria, actually. Whatever you pick up from your counter, basically, it's not so bad, probably. Yeah.
There's my batch.
Exactly. It should be really like I showed you. I never ferment more than 24 hours, and this is how it is. The yogurt, you see how it stands down?
Yeah.
And oops, there we go. Now, exactly. So don't overdo it like a 36, 40 hours. I don't know. That that is not giving you better
Well,
results, and you
you
don't
get-
need it.
What you get is a growth curve, a stationary phase, a die-off.
Exactly.
And, I mean, you can get a second growth.
And you get cheese. Eventually,
But-
if you continue the process, there will be curds and you're going to develop cheese
And
products.
I did have over
Which
the
is
winter,
okay.
I had 3 different occasions with sugar shift where I tried to go that 36 hours, and it was basically like a cheese.
Yeah, it is. It is. I made actually sugar shift cheese with small curds, and you can spread it if you put some herbs inside. But if your goal is to end up with yogurt, you don't need longer fermentation. Actually, sometimes you get mold, which again, if you look at the cheeses that I was eating, all the French cheeses, they do get a lot of mold, and they're delicious. So that was, this is what I wanted to mention. And again, the sugar shift is a magic product. My husband now is begging me, and I'm going to double dosing of fermenting the product because he heard the good news. And this is, I'm very thankful, Martha, you mentioned this too. It's really nice product.
Paula, what is that? You said Del Pro?
Del Pro. This is made of one Russian lady.
She's a
And-
friend of mine. The company is Stellar Biotics, and
Stellar Biotics, yeah. Let me
and
show you. There we go.
she has 4 unique strains that she spent a lot of her early career in Russia studying,
Uh-huh.
and she brought them to the United States.
And what
And-
are the benefits of?
Well,
That's
she's actually doing a study right now. Raul's helping her with a study. I can't remember
Immune
which
system, metabolic system,
cancer, I mean, she's
digestive
done some-
system,
yeah.
immune health, fast-acting blend.
Mm.
Okay, that
Okay.
doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
All
done a
good
lot of
stuff
research.
for your metabolic stuff and immune system. And it's delicious. And it's easy to make.
Mm.
It has all the bacteria that we like. Different strains. I was curious to see what the results will be with the different strains that are here. And they're pretty good, I think.
I guess I'll try it.
Yeah. And I wanted I did also, I don't know if I mentioned this before. I did yogurt with this product as well. 10 billions. Gero.
Mhm.
This is for female problems.
Yep.
Just to, not that I have female problems, but just to make sure that I have the right bacteria in my uterus and the urinary tract as well. So
There's
that may-
actually a really interesting YouTube. I'll try to find it. This scientist, her name is Susie something. Her hair is purple. She's from New Zealand or Australia, and she showed in a mouse model using like a fluorescent marker on a E. coli that
Mhm.
feeding the E. coli to the mouse that it showed up in the vagina.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And those tubes are not supposed to be connected to each other. So I think like the point she was making is like people have no idea how bacteria travels around in
Yeah.
the body.
Right. Right.
The translocation that everybody,
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
not everybody talks about.
Well,
it, but
this has crispatus, and I don't think in the others we have it. Gasseri, Plantarum, rhamnosus. What is
Yeah.
this? Jensen.
The
What is this?
Jensenii is another good
Jensenii. What is
Mhm.
this for?
female,
Again?
vaginal
Okay.
health, basically.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff.
I'm a big fan of that product, actually.
Are you
And
okay?
a couple of my clients too, who are postmenopausal women, make yogurt from it and have all experienced some very nice benefits. You know, it's just as we get older,
Yeah.
things
Why
happen.
not?
Jen, like what kind of benefit? Like I don't have a uterus, so
Mhm.
Well,
Vaginal
urinary tract
dryness,
infections probably, or what else?
not even
Moist.
infections, but just,
Moisture.
dryness
Less
and
vaginal dryness. Yeah.
libido
Ah.
reduces over
Like
time
a hyaluronic acid, basically,
in a
or
different way. I
in
mean,
a different way.
I
Sure.
think the microbes are just really a little more powerful in that way. Hyaluronic acid, we don't always feel. We know it's doing amazing things too, but the microbes are producers of a lot of different compounds. So
I don't know. Hyaluronic acid taking orally is kind of controversial at this time, I believe.
well, we would orally have consumed it in meat and foods and brains and organs, right? I mean, it
Yeah,
is
we
meant to
do.
be consumed orally in food.
I don't remember what was the last claim about it, but
Mhm.
something.
So I just wanted to, so my
Yeah.
brother, John, I was talking to him, and so he has prostate cancer, and he has, he's very well researched on prostate cancer. And so he went over to Germany, had treatment, and now he's using Velasta to keep it in at a normal level, which is astaxanthin plus glucose to get it in the cell. So that's Velasta. But the interesting thing was I was talking to him, and he has a UTI, and he cannot get it because of the prostate cancer. And I didn't know men got UTIs. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah.
And so
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they
I
do.
suggested Semdopolis for him, and he's going to try it. I suggested that he make yogurt, but he doesn't cook at all. And he lives like way away from me. So there's no way for me to make it and give it to him. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting that men had UTI. I had no idea.
Yeah,
They
not
do.
so often, but they do.
Okay, Elizabeth, we got a question from Elizabeth.
Paula, I've heard you say before that 30 hours should be the limit for for making the yogurt. Today you said 24.
Yeah, I go between 24 and 28.
Uh-huh.
And I found so much better results instead of having the whey, throwing away, and then ending up with kind of cheesy yogurt. It's not sweet. After 24 hours, it's perfect. It's not sour. There is no sweet taste at all. For example, if I compare the two yogurts that I'm eating, the BioGaia, I'm sorry, BioQuest is a little bit sour. Then Del Pro, they were fermenting together. I don't know why, but this is what I found. And if you eat Bulgarian yogurt, I'm used to very sour yogurt. It's nothing. There's nothing else in American store that you can compare to.
But the goal is not the taste. The goal is the bacterial
No.
count.
Yeah.
How do you
Yeah. After this, they're dying. They're dying, and you develop water, and you on the top, the taste is different than the bottom of your yogurt if you try to scrape it and see. And like I said, mathematically, the explanation is you go to a certain point. I don't know what is that point, but I feel it's 24 hours.
So,
Generally
when we model our, in our computational model, we can
Okay.
run the model for,
Yeah,
and
somebody
actually,
has to tell
maybe
us.
I can pull up, let me see if I can find one of these things to show you. But like it shows the growth curves and cross feeding. And it will, let me see if I can.
Probably every bacteria is different, but I average the things because there is a combo of bacteria, so I don't know what to do after this amount of time. But you'll see how it drops. Actually, it cannot cross the line.
So
It goes to it, and then this is where it stays and develops different bacteria that you don't know what you're ending up with. I don't know.
let's see, I need to find the growth curve. Because it will show you, okay, here we go.
Growth curve of what? Which product? Of your
So
product?
I'm going to show you the growth curve of over 12 hours of our bacteria. So,
Okay.
and I haven't looked at it in yogurt, but I mean, not in yogurt, but at 36 hours, I haven't looked at it. So I, you know,
Mhm. Yeah.
but
This is how it
so,
looks like. Yeah.
so what's interesting is in our growth curve, we are getting kind of the whole community together in that first 6 to 8 hours. And then you kind of
Yeah.
have these breakaways, which
Right.
is the bifidobifidum, the bacillus subtilis, and then we get the reuteri. And so the reuteri is peaking up here at that just after the 12 hours. So, you
Yeah.
know, I just find it kind of interesting. And in, so Luke and
So
Ostock
all the
in
other
a,
bacteria, basically, they reach their peak at 12 hours, and they will settle down over there by looking your curves. And I don't know. I wish you got 14 hours so I can see what happens with the reuteri.
I mean,
But
we
it
didn't
looks
run
like,
it then because we
yeah.
were, I mean, you know, we were not doing it. You can run the model longer than that, but we didn't do
Yeah.
that. But you can already see they're starting to hit a stationary phase,
Exactly.
but they can hit a secondary growth
No.
phase. And now this is not
No.
sugar shift, but this is a different formula.
Mhm.
But what you
What is
see
this?
here is this craziness of how they
What is
cross
happening
feed
here?
each other. So they're cross feeding. So this is
Who is it?
H2O, hydrogen and glycine. So the blue lines are glycine, the green is hydrogens, and the red is H2O. So, you know, this Lactobacillus lactis is producing H2O that's feeding these others. And sugar shift, I can probably, let me see if I can find the sugar shift.
So those are random bacteria that how are they interacting? I don't understand the graph.
Well,
honestly.
that's for a formula that we designed to actually, I don't know, is this going to open? There we go. So this is the sugar shift formula. You can't really tell
Yeah.
what these are, but
What is representing
so
exactly?
this is leuconostoc, this is bacillus subtilis, this is bifidobifidum, this is plantarum, this is reuteri, this is pediococcus acidolactici, and this is lactobacillus paracasei, and that's bifidolongum. And so you can see that
how they interact.
these
Yeah.
are feeding hydrogen to the bacillus subtilis that is then producing acetaldehyde and feeding these other organisms. And
Yeah.
then the consumption of the glucose. So the bifidobifidum is actually the one consuming the glucose. So this is
Okay.
our modeling, how we do that. So
Yeah.
this other one was a formula that we put together to actually produce vitamin K. But we haven't brought it to market, but that's
Oh,
what that is. So
okay.
anyway, but that, you know, you have
Yeah. So obviously 12 hours actually is good enough.
well, and what I will say is I kind of watch my Louvel, you know, I'm looking at the container. So I take that outer ring off of it. You can see I don't have the ring on it so that I can look at it so it's not covered up. And
I
I'll
don't
look
use
at
any
it
of
and
those
kind of
things.
test. And if it looks like it's good and
Yeah.
solid, I'll go ahead and take it out at 12 or
Also, the
16 hours or
temperature
something.
should be between, because of the different, if you ferment only one bacteria, it's a different case. But like in those cases, when you have so many, I wouldn't go higher than 98. 100 will be my max. And I actually made my husband to make from a cooler. He put a lamp inside with thermometer. It's quite easy. I don't have Louvels or whatever. And then I control the temperature, and I told him, do not go over 100. And I did this only because I need my oven. If I don't need my oven for 24 hours, you just turn the light of your oven, preheat the oven to 150, you put your yogurts there, and this is it. The easiest way. You don't need to.
Yeah, I've used
actually.
the oven. My problem with the oven is I forget that it's in there, and then I turn the
Oh,
oven to
you
preheat
put a
something else.
note.
And so
You
I
put a note. No, don't touch the oven.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I've really roasted some of my yogurts.
Oh,
doing it
absolutely.
that way before I got my Louvel. But yeah.
I have a note. But anyhow, if you have Louvel, whatever, hopefully you can manage 98 degrees to 100 max. So no problems will be developed.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you keep it open, honestly. It has to be closed, Marta, when you ferment. You say you keep it open?
No,
No.
it's closed. I close it.
Ah.
I just don't have the, that outer.
Oh,
So the Louvel comes with a kind of a rubber cover that goes across the outside here, but I don't like that because I can't see the
Yeah.
actual yogurt in there, so I take that off.
So
because it's supposed to be really close. I usually even put this paper under the wrapping paper. When I ferment, I didn't remove it, so it will be really close. Yeah, that's another very important stuff. So it doesn't connect with any air flow.
Martha, lots of people were dropping their Louvels. That's why you have to be really careful when you're fermenting it.
Yeah.
Just because that's why people use that outer edge, because we have lots of people that have posted that they broke their glass.
Oh, really?
Yeah, lots of people have broken the glass.
Interesting.
Yeah,
well,
because
I don't know. I
But
sometimes put it on there, but
do you do a water bath?
Yeah, I do a water bath.
Yeah, so that's what, like, the people are picking it up and they're dropping it. Yeah, so that's why.
Actually, I do not do any water. If you put it, like I said, just like the jar in the oven with the light on, it keeps it 98 degrees. You don't need any water or anything else to ferment. That's the easiest way. But I don't want to interfere with the way of fermentation, whatever you're learning.
I don't know. I am trying this new Nor organic probiotic skier I got at because I'm going to actually try that and use the strains to make my own yogurt because it has some different ones in there. And
What is
John
this?
actually did a biofeedback scan on him. And one of the things it was suggesting was Bifido animalis and Bifidolactis BB12. And they're both in this yogurt, which I thought was interesting. So, and then it has a Delbrueckii and Bulgaricus and the standard Thermophilus, but
Which one is that? Can you show us?
it's called Nor Organic.
Never.
And then you
Never
can
seen it.
see the strains in there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can.
Yeah, it's at Whole Foods, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. I got it at Fresh Market.
Mhm.
And it's like all organic milk. And, you know,
Jen-
I think one of the major issues that a lot of people have is just what we've done to the milk supply. And if
Oh, yeah.
you, and, you know, and if you know the Pottinger's cats, do you know the story of Pottinger's cats?
No.
So this
Go
is, like Weston Price has some, but you can go look up on YouTube, Pottinger's cats. And, so basically this was, nutritional research that they did with multiple generations of cats, and they were feeding them, raw meat scraps and, either raw milk dairy or raw meat scraps or cooked meat, and then raw milk, homogenized and ultra pasteurized milk. And they basically showed the decline in health of each generation with the pasteurized milk versus the whole milk, and the cooked meat versus the raw meat.
Yeah.
So
That's my favorite American yogurt.
Oh.
That's the only American yogurt that it's worth buying.
Jen, when you recommended that True Bifido product, and so I've been making yogurt with that for a really long time, and that makes a really good yogurt also. I don't know
Yeah.
all the names of the strains that are in that one, but that makes a really good yogurt.
My lips fell off. All right.
Are you muted?
No, I'm not. I don't think so. I'm
Sorry,
actually
I was talking to Norma Jean. Yeah, I was just wondering if you use the same basic formula that we all use
Yes.
to make that. Mhm.
I actually have a sous vide, so I'll put in Bacillus subtilis in 1 quart jar, True Bifido in 1 jar, Sugar Shift in 1 jar, Plantarum in 1 jar, and then I have the Lavelle going with another something in there. So I'm doing 5 different things at one time.
And then picking an average temp for
I-
everything.
To be honest, with my sous vide, it runs a little hot, so I usually do like 97.
Okay.
So it's probably about 99. And I do only when I'm doing the Lactobacillus rhodori by itself. I started not using any inulin, and it really comes out much better when I don't use inulin.
Yeah.
But all the other ones, I'll put about 1.5 tablespoons of inulin in each quart jar, and it start out with about 3 cups of half and half in each one, and that gives it enough room so that it doesn't overflow. But the Bacillus subtilis comes out really nice, and and I got that one. That was the one that yeah, no, I use a real tablespoon, Martha.
So this actually came in my
Inulin.
in my chicory inulin, and so I just use this little small scoop that it's probably not even a teaspoon.
Yeah, I don't think so, but I actually use 1.5 tablespoons, and I've used 2 tablespoons sometimes with just 3 cups, and it's come out fine either way. But I just started thinking, well, let's see if I use a little bit less. I don't really get any. Well, I used to strain everything in a Greek yogurt strainer, but I stopped doing that because it didn't seem to make a difference. It didn't seem like I was having any different reactions to it with the whey and without the whey. I still haven't lost 1 pound. So.
Well, I think it was Martha who a while ago told me that the bifidobacteria really like XOS. And I'm wondering if, if anyone here has tried making yogurt with that instead of inulin. I have not, but if I were to try to ferment True Bifido,
I tried to ferment anything with it, like when I'm making the yogurt, but I have a whole selection on my counter of all different kinds. And so when I make a bowl of yogurt, I take like about 4, I'm like John, and I'll put in 3 or 4 tablespoons of collagen in my yogurt, and then, you know, some L-glutamine and some, what do you like? Just I have a whole selection, and I put it all in there, and I actually find that when I mix in the XOS and the is it HMO? Is that the other one?
Yeah.
When I put all of those in, like it when I used to just do inulin, I would have more gas. Let's put it that way. But when I put all the different kinds in, it's not, the inulin doesn't affect me as much. I guess because you're feeding all different things. So,
You're getting more of a little more diversity. It's been a while, but I have tried making or using this, which you probably can't see. It's called Ambrotose. It's an arabinogalactin, rice starch, aloe vera extract, interleaf gelatin, glucosamine hydrochloride. It was a supplement that was recommended by actually one of my advisors who used to work for this company a long time ago. It's very expensive though. This little jar is $165.
wow.
So
Hmm.
I've decided I stopped putting it in the yogurt because it did make the consistency a little different. I didn't like it as well. And I usually just put it in my coffee in the morning. Although I just listened to something that said I shouldn't drink coffee, so I'm having to rethink that.
I don't like coffee, so that's not a problem.
So Martha, is that rice? It's made with rice extract?
Let's see.
I thought you said, was it rice? Because I don't do any, if we don't do any grains, and
Rice starch.
yeah, so I don't do.
So I have had some people ask us, because we use in the production of our in order for the machine not to stick, we use stearic acid. And I've had some people, a couple of doctors ask if we could do without stearic acid. It's a very tiny amount in the formula, but we're actually looking at a rice powder that would be replacing the stearic acid. So
It's not, it's how much, it's not very much though, right?
no, it's less than 2% of the, it's a very tiny amount.
Yeah.
But then if any of the starches, if you're making a yogurt with it, are going to get eaten up by the bacteria anyway. And
Correct. Correct. You're right.
So I think we had a question. Let's see. Well, Liberty, your hand was up, but I don't see it up anymore. Maybe you gave up on us.
I had a couple of questions about the conversation with the yogurt. If it's, so I just actually finished a batch, and it went about maybe 16 hours, and it has a fruity taste, which is nice taste, but should I be waiting for it to get all the way sour, or is that sweetness okay?
I mean, I actually like the milder flavor.
I do too. Yeah, my sister doesn't though. I'm trying to get her on it.
Yeah. So, but if you do take it longer, or if you do a second batch with it, you're likely to have a little more lactic acid than the first batch. So often like if you make the first batch, it's milder. And I think that, trying to think which strain it is. I'll ask Raul, and the next time maybe I can say what strain it is that actually helps with the mildness.
Oh, the mildness. Okay. And second, I pulled out my copy of SuperGet while you were talking about the length of time. And for L. reuteri, of course, he's talking about it by itself, I think, but he says to go for 36 hours with that one. And so I
Right.
just wanted to double check on that.
So, and then also on the coconut milk, at one point early on, I think in the book it says 48. And then he, on our Wednesday night discussions, he changed it and said that 36 hours was adequate. So we've been saying 36
Okay.
from that point on.
And okay, so maybe it's changing.
I think
Well,
we know more.
and
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Well,
this
I
is a
tell
couple
people
years old.
too, it's an art, it's not a science.
It is art.
Microbes behave very differently at different times of year, depending on the barometric pressure, the weather, the moisture in the air. They're just like people. They're living
Yeah.
things. And so
Yeah.
each time it's maybe a little bit different. So you get a bit of a surprise.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah, I've often wondered if we think about the thousands of people making even just El Reuterite yogurt, and you tested and tasted all these different versions, just have to wonder what similarities would there be? Would we?
Maybe we should have like a chili cook-off
Yeah.
for El Reuterite.
Mhm.
And we could, I don't know where do we want to have it, but we should have we could just have a yogurt taste off, and people bring all their different yogurts, and maybe the sugar shift flavor will be the champion of them all.
Maybe we could get Sally Fallon to host us. I've wanted to do a demo there at her farm.
Oh, that would actually be kind of fun. Maybe we could do that. Maybe we could do that at the Weston Price conference.
Yeah.
Well, how about like a wheat belly cruise and do the yogurts on one of the cruises?
Have the chefs make it at that point.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a boat person. It looks like we have a question from Elizabeth again.
Yeah, we're just talking about the different aspects of yogurt. Liberty said that at a certain point it was sweet, and later it was, more sour. I take the fact that the yogurt is not sweet as a good thing, as to indicate that the bacteria have eaten the sugar that I put in it and the starch that I put in it. So otherwise, I would think it has a lot of that it has sugar on it, and we don't want the yogurt to have sugar, right? So we want to cook it, I say, until all the sugar has been digested.
Well, and the lactose. Right.
I use
the lactose from the milk.
I use coconut.
I don't add sugar.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
so sometimes I do add inulin, but I don't always add inulin. So I'm not adding sugar. And I'll get sometimes a more mild flavor, but I wouldn't call it sweet. So maybe when you're talking about sweet, it's because you have added sugar to it. So it's sweet from the sugar you.
Well, that's a recipe we have: sugar, inulin, and war gum, and mine is not sweet. But if it were sweet, it would worry me that it would have undigested sugar in it.
Yeah.
Because
well, that would be the case. Yeah, you would have sugars that have not been digested yet.
Yeah, actually, when I taste it, and they all taste different, of course, but I don't want it to be sweet. If that's kind of my bar for how much yogurt can I eat without in affecting my 15 grams per 15 grams of carbs. Yeah. Because I cannot measure it exactly, how much sugar it has, because it's not what I put in it, but what comes out.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so as long as you have the bacteria, they'll continue to digest those sugars even as you're eating it. I mean, I doubt anybody in this group is adding anywhere near the amount of sugar that's in a commercial yogurt. And those sugars are added at the end, I think, or more toward the end. So,
Just as a flavor,
yeah.
not as part of the reaction. Mhm. Okay.
Definitely, I don't think anybody here is eating this.
You know, adding a ton of sugar. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Martha, can I ask an unrelated question to the yogurts?
Sure.
It's yogurt night.
Um,
It's yogurt night. Yeah. It seems to be not a lot of sugar shift
In yogurt.
questions tonight.
Yeah,
Mostly
yeah.
yogurt. Yeah.
Yogurt. I was thinking about magnesium again. So the guy that came and I was expecting for him to talk about magnesium, he didn't. So
Morley.
Morley,
Yes.
I was. So I'm gonna ask you, what type of magnesium do you use, and which one makes you happier?
So I'm looking here. So I use two different products. I use the magnesium. I gotta find it here from Jigsaw, which Jigsaw, their primary focus initially was all about magnesium, and I had my house cleaned today, and now all my supplements are squished up into a pile, and they're not in the order that I had them in my nerdy little.
Right, right.
So there's a sustained release. John takes this one. Actually, I need to give him some more of that. And then I take the mag malate.
What is inside?
So it's this is 100 milligrams, and I usually take like 4 of these, not all at once. I take 2 and 2. And then
What type of magnesium is that?
it's a magnesium malate.
Malate. Okay.
And that's supposed to be more for energy. And then this one we take at bedtime, Mag Soothe, and that's a magnesium bisglycinate with sodium and potassium.
Oh, you take this even though with potassium at night?
Yes.
Okay. Doesn't give you energy?
Nope.
Okay. Get it. So
Does
what was
anybody?
the malate? How do you spell this? The first type of magnesium.
MALAT. Malate.
Malate. Okay.
Does anybody use magnesium spray?
And then I have a magnesium lotion, and then I also have a magnesium oil we put in the tub. And then this product from Quicksilver, their H2, is actually magnesium.
It is?
So it's a little magnesium capsule, and you put it in the water, and it dissolves and makes the water hydrogen water.
In the water, in the bathtub, or in water like a drink?
In the water you're going to drink.
So
And what type of magnesium you end up with?
I don't know. It says other ingredients: proprietary hydrogen matrix, malic acid, dextrose, tartaric acid, adipic acid. I've never even heard of that, and sodium stearyl fumarate. It's kind of interesting when you drop it in the little.
Does it taste different?
it's
It's kind of chalky tasting.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
I actually really like it. And I notice, because you're supposed to drink it all at once, and I do get a burst of energy. So I started doing it right before workouts.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know if hydrogen is meant to be, or maybe it's just something I need, but I notice a difference with that.
So no one is using citrate?
Sometimes
I use that like for constipation. Let me find it here.
Yeah, we use that a lot, Paula.
I know. I bought a bunch of powder, citrate powder. So
Oxy powder. This oxy powder is magnesium from ozonated magnesium oxides. Oh no, it's not. I thought it was mag citrate. It's not.
Just don't take the full dose of that. I think the full dose is like 4 capsules.
It is 4 capsules.
I took that for a while and like one time.
Well, this was Dr. Margarino's probably.
Yeah,
but,
that's
but
why
yeah,
I took.
that was for John. But you know, it takes the full dose for him if he's having, you know.
Yeah, I was in the bathroom for like 3 days.
Oh, that's hilarious. Actually, it's probably not.
No, it
Not
wasn't.
hilarious for you, but yeah.
Yeah.
No type of magnesium can make me go to the bathroom. I
Oh,
mean, I
quality.
go to the bathroom normally, but I mean, never have any problems with any type. And I wonder why people are complaining with diarrhea and stuff. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, try it, Paula.
Yeah, maybe. Okay.
Try it and let us know.
All right.
So nobody has really a good recommendation for a magnesium spray. Jen, maybe you.
Give me
You're muted.
Or Deb.
give me a second here and let me try to find what I've used before. Oh, I bought a bunch for Christmas gifts last year. I've got some, yeah. So, goodness, that might take me a minute, Norma G, and I might
That's all
have
right.
to email
So,
everyone or put it on the page.
well, actually, Calm, I felt like I got the best feeling, you know, from a magnesium supplement when I took Calm, but it's,
Mhm.
I don't know that it's any better than anything else. I mean, I've taken magnesium supplements, you know, for a while, but
Me too. And I, and it's like after the last couple meetings and I got suggestions between this group and between Dr. Davis's group about, I forget who recommended glycine. And I think, Paul, you recommended valerium.
Correct. Yeah.
So I bought,
Glycine is also recommended by Stephanie Seneff.
oh, really?
Because, glyphosate is a glycine analog. And so you can be getting misincorporated glyphosate into your proteins in place of glycine. And so she actually recommends taking glycine. It's a little bit sweet too. So you can back to coffee, which, is a whole nother issue. But, if you want a little sweetener in your coffee, glycine is actually sweet. So
No sweetener
you
anywhere.
get a little bit of sweetness. So oops. In fact,
So did the valerian help you?
well, I've been taking the glycine and taking 2 valerian before I go to bed. But I still ended up waking up in the middle of the night. So I don't know. And so I tried, there's some nights where I end up taking 4 of those a night and I still can't go back to sleep.
What temperature is your bedroom?
Pretty cold.
Oh, okay. No, I sleep so much better at 65 to 66 than I do at like 68 or 60. It's amazing.
65? I'll be frozen as a popsicle.
No, you put heavy blankets, you still have blankets on, but that makes a huge difference in my sleep.
Yeah, I mean we keep it pretty cold. We actually have a dog that can't sleep when it's warm.
Right.
So
Our dog.
we do it for the dog more than anybody else because usually it's my husband's freezing, so he has an extra blanket on his side of the bed. Me and the dog are, we got the ceiling fan going and the air conditioning on, and yeah.
Is it dark in your room?
Yes.
It is dark
Yep.
because dark. Yeah. What about earplugs? Do you use earplugs?
I just have a huge, I have 2 pillows, one of them that it goes on top of my head.
Ah, you're suffocating yourself. That's why.
Well, no, it's like it's one of those. It's very heavy, and it's like I think it's made with like compressed memory foam. But I have a, my nose can stick out and I can breathe, but it makes it even darker and quieter because my one dog is a pug and he snores like.
Yeah, exactly. This is why I'm using earplugs, because one of my dogs is snoring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll have like 1 or 2 days a week where I sleep well, and I'll, but my
Do you
deep
turn off
sleep,
your Wi-Fi? Do you turn the Wi-Fi off in your house?
I tried that and I didn't notice a difference, but I really do try. Like I have a safe sleeve on my phone, so I have my phone in my nightstand with the safe sleeve on, and then
I
Yeah.
would not put your phone in the bedroom at all. And I would actually still turn your Wi-Fi off because I think it takes a while to adjust after you've been exposed for so long. But I'm actually having this conversation back and forth with a couple of scientists about like electromagnetics and the impact on cells and cell communication, and some of this early science that was done decades ago that had kind of been forgotten, that's now kind of coming back to light. There's a couple of Russian scientists. One, his name is Koznachev, and he basically was showing how, and maybe I've talked about this, I know I've talked about it somewhere, but basically cells transmitting a signal. So if you have they put, as an example, two different petri dishes with the same cell culture, and they separated them. One of them was separated by a sheet of quartz, and the other was separated by a sheet of silica. And and they poisoned the cells on the one side, and it transmitted the signal and killed the cells on the other side.
I totally believe that there's a lot to that we're exposed to way too much electromagnetic fields.
And with John, I mean, we've noticed how he is super, super sensitive to changes in the sun's electromagnetic field. And I think some of that also connects to high iron load, which is magnetic. So, you can get these disruptions in the minerals and just generally cellular communication. And I started looking at cell to cell communication with bacteria before I found out about this Russian guy's research. But what's so interesting to me about the bacteria is, part of one of their tools is this electromagnetic communication or sound waves. And Bacillus subtilis, so that organism, that soil-based organism that we use in all of our formulas, it actually makes a sound frequency that disrupts pathogenic organisms. So I mean, somewhere I used to say on the website that it sings, but it is, they're making a sound or a frequency that is a disruptor. And so if you think of, okay, at that level, bacteria can disrupt each other with these different sounds or frequencies. What are we doing to ourselves with all of these new electromagnetic technologies? And I think I have well, we had to skip the book club this time because I had too much stuff going on. So we're going to cover the water one in the upcoming one. But the one following that is actually a book about, it's called The Invisible Rainbow, and the electricity and life. And it's basically about these electromagnetic fields and all the research that's been done about the impact on health. And a lot of it has been done by the U.S. military, because a lot of these new technologies get used first on the Navy ships and in the field operations in the military, and they, sort of have their own little petri dish of observation related to the impact of changes in electromagnetic fields. And I have also seen some discussion about the Spanish flu actually not being a flu, but rather being the change in electromagnetic waves with the initiation of new electromagnetic spectrum across the globe.
Well, I think also the Spanish flu, I think they kind of said that really came from, they had just created a vaccine.
Well, that too. Yeah, that too.
And there's also like lots of research on like using microwave water to water a plant.
Mhm.
And they basically showed that when they used water that had been microwaved, that the plants died.
Right.
So I mean, I definitely think there's something to that. And I actually
Oh
had,
yeah.
a bunch of those ultrasonic pest controller things in my house, because when I moved to South Carolina, all the houses have crawl spaces underneath. So you have a lot of spiders.
We have one of these. I know it's a mouse thing, and it's probably not good for us.
Well, my dog actually started having seizures
Well,
right after I plugged.
That's really interesting. I'm going to unplug that then.
but
It
remember
has
in
kept the
Cuba,
mouse away.
remember in Cuba in the American consulate, how people are
Yeah.
getting seizures
Yeah.
and sick, etc. So
Yeah.
that was something.
Yes,
They don't want to admit what exactly was, but
yeah.
it was something.
Yeah.
Right.
But I plugged in bought these, new improved ultrasonic things because I mean, we just have so many spiders and bugs and snakes, and I like when they did the inspection in my house, there was a copperhead living in my crawl space. But they only come in when it's time to shed, and then once they shed, then they. So I keep telling any of the guys that do rodent control, whatever, if you find a black snake that somebody doesn't want, bring them to my house. So I have a black snake, then I won't have the copperheads and the rattlesnakes.
Oh,
But so because they'll go into the mulch and the stuff around the edge of the house. So that's why I got these ultrasonic things, because I had I don't know if you guys know what, like a blue-tailed skink or red-tailed skink. So I had skinks and toads and just so many creatures, and that's fine outside, but they were coming into my garage. And so I put some of those ultrasonic things on, and about the third day, my one dog had 2 seizures in one day.
oh wow.
I just went around, I unplugged them all. I'd left one in the garage, but I had to, because I could hear them. And I kept saying to my husband, can't you hear that? Can't you hear that noise? And he was like, no.
My son Charlie's on here. He's super he has like bat ears. He can hear the tiniest. And sometimes when I'm on a video call with him, he'll say, what's that sound in the background? I'm like, what are you talking about? I mean, I don't think it's that, but he's super sensitive to sound. So I wonder what something like that would do with him also. But now that I think about it, it has gotten rid of the mice that we had, but it's probably not good for John.
Yeah, I had to, like I said, I just have the one in the garage, and it actually has 3 settings, low, medium, and high. So I just kind of plug it in. If we go away, I plug them in. So it can blast whatever's trying to come
Interesting.
in. But yeah.
Martha, what about if I throw you away with a question about mushrooms?
What about mushrooms? Which kind of mushrooms?
This is what I want to ask. People so often are going those days with some type of mushrooms. I don't know.
Like immune mushrooms or hallucinogenic mushrooms?
Probably, I cannot pronounce the word. word, but yeah.
Hallucinogenic.
The psilocybin mushrooms. I can't say that I know a lot about those, but I actually just did get some new mushroom tinctures.
Okay.
Turkey
What are
tail
you
and
using those
reishi.
for?
These are
Enchanted mushrooms.
turkey tail and reishi, but
I think it's from
I
Atlanta, Texas, right?
actually have a scientist friend at Denver University who's coming out here to visit me in July, and he grows mushrooms, all different kinds. He grows like the lion's mane, which is really good for memory and that kind of stuff. And he's gonna. I have one of my biosafety cabinets here from the lab, and we're gonna set that up so that I can actually grow some of those mushrooms.
Can we talk about mushrooms one day?
Sure, we can do that, and maybe I could have him on here, and he
Yeah,
could talk to us
invite
about.
somebody to
Paula.
educate me.
So he actually did. He showed me one time he used like a bag of Uncle Ben's rice,
To grow
and
my-
he inoculated the bag with the spores and put the sterile water in there, and they grew on the rice in the Uncle Ben's rice.
Oh,
I don't know anything about it, but people are swearing after some of those mushrooms.
Paula, I
Yeah.
have my pug who just turned 16. When he was 10, we discovered that he had a pheochromocytoma, which is an adrenal tumor.
Oh,
And I took him to the vet, and I kept telling the vet, I think he's pre-diabetic or diabetic because he has polyuria, polydipsia, drinks a lot of water. He's always hungry. And they tested him and they said, no. They ended up sending me to this specialist, and he was like, oh, I'll do the surgery. I'll remove the tumor, but they don't usually live that long afterwards because they don't have the right hormones once you remove the adrenal gland.
mhm.
I said, well, you know what? He's already 10 and he's a pug, so I'm just going to take him home and let him live out his days. I took him to a holistic veterinarian, and we started using an essential oil blend on his spine near his adrenals, and doing tapping and
How do you do this? How do you go to
tapping.
the spine? I mean,
It was just an adrenal cortex, an adrenal blend of different essential oils, and you just kind of take it and drip it on his spine, and his adrenals are like kind of near his hip. But I did that, and I gave him these mushroom pills and some other holistic things, and he's still alive. He just turned 16.
here we go.
So
Educate us about mushrooms, please.
yeah. Is it for you or for your dogs?
Well, no, for nobody, but I'm just curious because people are talking about mushrooms so much, and they have positive
Well, they do. They are very good
effects.
for bioremediation. They also restore tyrosinase, which is an enzyme that we've lost a lot of that function, and mushrooms have tyrosinase. But I could see if Dr. Paredes would come on sometime and talk to us about them.
That
I
would be
think that'd
great.
All right. Well, I think maybe we have one more question from Liberty, and then I'm going to wrap it up for the night because I still haven't eaten except for the yogurt I ate while you were sitting there.
It's not an emergency if we want to take this into another call, but along the lines of Dr. Morley, or not Dr. Morley Robbins,
Yeah.
he said not to take D3, but Dr. Davis said always take D3. So I was curious your perspective.
Well, it's interesting because I was actually on an alumni call today talking about melanin, pigment and the pigment of our organs and the pigment in the mitochondria. And, you know, like we're supposed to have all these colors, and melanin is part of how color is made. And melanin requires tyrosinase.
Okay.
That stimulates melanin. It requires 2 coppers, and a lot of the food preservatives are have tyrosinase inhibitors because they want to stop the browning process. Tyrosinase is a browning process, and it's interesting because vitamin D also inhibits tyrosinase.
It inhibits it.
Yeah,
Inhibit. Okay.
inhibits, so it stops it. And vitamin D also has I'd have to find the paper, but it does something related to iron that makes, if you have an iron problem, it makes that worse. And so you know, I have people all the time trying to get John to take vitamin D, or, you know, I recently had some blood work done and the doctor's like, oh, your vitamin D is low. And they're like, it's 28. And like for me in the RCP, 28 is high. And so I'm like, no, I'm not going to take vitamin D. So I don't take vitamin D. Vitamin D is, well, there's also many forms of vitamin D. So vitamin D is not a vitamin, it is a hormone. And what typically is measured in a blood test is not the active form, it's the storage form.
Oh, okay.
And so you need to look at what your active form of D. And
Okay.
vitamin D is also kind of dampens down the immune response.
Huh.
And I actually, so, you know, maybe like people take it if they have an acute infection because they don't want to like have an over immune reaction or something. But I think we already have dampened down immune systems. So I don't really, I don't ascribe to it myself. I want to get the vitamin D from the sunlight. So in the RCP, like they won't even deal with milk that has, because so much of the milk has vitamin D added to it.
Sure does.
That's
Now,
also
I like to think maybe the microbes are transforming it in some way that makes it not a problem via the yogurt.
Well, the D that they add to milk is vitamin D2, which is a synthetic form, I believe.
Right.
Versus that's why the D3 that,
And organic has it too, huh?
yeah. Well, no, I'm not
So,
sure.
but you know, you want to get as much of your D as you can from the actual sunlight.
But they
But
say
that's-
once you
isn't
get
it
older, as you get older, you can't
right? You don't
Convert-
absorb it.
from the sun. I don't know how true that is or not. I mean, Dr. Mercola is like in his 70s,
Yeah.
but he runs around.
I don't know. I'm always a little leery anytime like everyone is pushing a particular supplement. I'm kind of contrarian. It's like, why are they selling me? Why is everybody selling this? Like it's like, you know, like it's the but you know, I do know that there are people who get good results with vitamin D. I mean, I had a discussion with a nutritionist who was working with John, and she's like, you know, just have him do it for, you know, 30 days. So I was like, okay, I'll have to do it for 30 days, but don't be on 30 days because I know the impact with the and I know the impact with this, and all of these are issues with it. And you also, if you're going to take vitamin D, it needs to be balanced with vitamin K. So you shouldn't just take D. It needs to be like D and K too. And I mean, that's the case with so many of these supplements that people are like,
Paula, can you mute?
Oh, I'm sorry.
She was singing right in tune with your speech, Martha. I thought she
Yeah.
was singing along.
but
No, that's
you know,
the dog barking. Sorry.
so the you know, the hormones counterbalance each other. The minerals counter, you know, like sodium and potassium are a counterbalance. Magnesium and calcium are a counterbalance. You know, D and K are a counterbalance. A and E are a counter. So, you know, when
Okay.
we start taking these
Okay.
single things, so like
Right.
I try to get my, so I do take cod liver oil. I mean, I know there's a lot of people who argue, you know, against the fish oils, but I do take Alaskan cod liver oil, and that, you know, that has a full complement of the fat soluble vitamins. You know, I'm just a little more reluctant about, I want to get the microbes in that are making things and kind of restore the system as much as possible, but
Right.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, since the meeting with Morley, I have stopped taking the vitamin D just to see. And I started taking the Jigsaw adrenal product and the copper, the
recuperate.
And I did buy the spleen product too, but I haven't tried that yet. So I actually thought, because I did that, and plus I was doing the glycine and Paula's suggestion of the valerian, and I actually had like 3 or 4 days where I slept really well. Like one night I actually got longer than 1 hour's worth of deep sleep, and that's like unheard of for me. But after a few more
Try
days,
the earplugs. Maybe it will get even
yeah,
better.
I don't hear anything. Like I said, I have that pillow over my head.
Instead of pillow. I mean, it
Um,
really helps. Yeah, maybe you can hear too much. I know I do. So I don't know.
Yeah. So, but like I said, I thought I was cured, and then after a few nights, it just went back.
Came back.
Okay, I gotta go.
Okay. Well,
Okay. Thank you.
we'll see you next time.
All right.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Joel.
everyone.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Jen, for those
Thank you.
magnesium.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.